Hello and welcome to Group Chat. I'm your host, Bentley, and today I'm excited to welcome back Cory McCants, performer and host of Buffalo Toronto Public Media's digital series Compact History and Compact Civics. Donny Kutzbach, co-owner of Town Ballroom and Funtime Presents. List of other things. Travis Carlson, welcome back. An award-winning filmmaker from Pan Am Films and the author of the adventure book Mafia, Buffalo vs. the Multiverse. Thank you for joining us. Today we're having our very own Group Chat Oscars party, and later we'll talk about the 2025 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominations and upcoming music tours hitting Buffalo and Toronto. But first, what is your role in your own group chats? I know if you've been on before, you've already talked about this, but it always changes. And Donny, you're looking like a little evil in your group chats now.
I think I have become, and I may have mentioned this before, I've become the person who doesn't respond at all.
Ah.
Even sometimes in family ones, I'm just like, I'm not responding at all. Like, I'll have, my kids will say, "Did you see that? I put that in the group chat." And I was like, I don't know. I didn't look at it, or I missed that. I don't know if that's, maybe it's just the winter, and I'm at that point where everything is a struggle. Even looking at your texts and your group messages, it's still like,
it's too much effort.
Yeah. You need to literally unplug.
That's where I've been lately.
Yeah, I get it. I don't want to look at anything. I'm always worried that if I look at anything on my phone, something's going to pop up that I don't want to see.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I'm the same way. I try to take control of the phone and say, like, it's flipped over until I'm ready to look. And so in group chats, sometimes 25, 85 messages will zip by and you're like, I guess I didn't participate for a while. But that's okay because I was doing something else probably. But
yeah. I think it's okay. We accept that.
Yeah. I think my role is pretty consistent when it comes to friends. I guess it depends on who you ask, but for most of my friends, I'm the one like sending the memes or, things like that. For my family group chat, I'm a little bit of a mixture. I'm a little bit of like, I'm not paying attention or I'm like, I'm doing something else, but I still do love it. I love that my siblings all text. It makes me very happy that we are, but I'm the baby of the family. So like there's references in there that I'm like, not even getting their stuff that they knew before I was born or, things like that. They're talking about road rules and the real world. And I'm like, I don't even know what this stuff is. You know what I mean? Like, it's just different. But so I think it depends which group I'm in for my role.
But being the youngest, are you also teaching them things too? Are they asking you about things they don't know?
Maybe a little bit, not so much just because the way it works out is that they instilled older things into me, but they weren't interested in the younger things. So like what's popular right now, I'm too old for it. You know what I mean? Like I'm not Gen Z. So this stuff, you talk about skibbity something, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So it's mainly references to things that I was probably too young to get at the time, but I get because of them. And then they go back before my time and I'm like, all right, I don't know what's happening.
Just check out. Well, we have a lot of exciting things to talk about, but the first thing we're going to talk about, the Oscars are this weekend, and we have some film people in the room, not just by chance. But Travis, so Cory has been on the show multiple times and has brought up your Oscar parties.
Yes. He's our hype man. He's so good at it. He makes me want to go to the party.
It's that good.
Between you and me and everyone listening. And we were not even sure we were going to do it this year, but Cory came on the radio and said we were. So
feel
we are.
There we go. I didn't know that, but there you go. There we go.
This show has a lot of power.
So, well, I don't know if I want to ask it like this. I was going to say what happens at these Oscar parties, but maybe we need to dial it back a little bit.
No, it's a great time. It's basically it's just a watch party, but everyone dresses up. And if you don't have like a costume for one of your favorite movies, you just dress up nicely like all of you did. And so then we're just watching it, but then we'll turn down the commercials and we will do our own presentations of our favorite awards. So everyone at the party will go around the room and select their best picture, their best actors. And so then we'll have a little script, Cory and me will go up or somebody will go up and they'll be like, whatever, just the dialogue that's normally in the teleprompter. They'll present an award and then say like, our party picked, Timothée Chalamet or whatever.
Oh, nice.
So we just try to have a little bit more fun.
So does everybody have their own ballot, or do you do you do all of the awards or just the major awards?
Just the major awards, and it's just so simple. We just put it on the wall, and then people walk up to best cinematography, and they pick theirs. We'll tally them up and put them in envelopes, and
You do the envelopes too.
Yeah.
Look at you guys.
yeah, got to.
This thing, it's legit, man. Like Travis is just so calm about everything.
Yeah.
Like he is explaining it well, but he's just so calm about it that it sounds like, oh, cool. But like you walk in and it's like, man, everybody's dressed up,
Yeah.
and like there's an actual script. Like he just said, like we go up in front of everybody to announce our picks, like what we think won, and like it's just so dope, and it's something that not everybody does. I mean, you might have some friends that come over, like, yeah, we'll buy pizza, and each person buys something to have. Like, we do, most people do something similar when they think they're doing something, and then you go to a Pan Am party, and it's like, oh, shoot. You know what I mean? It's like, this is a different level, man. It really is. Because I think last year was probably my first year going, so that's probably why I'm, like, so taken back. Because as an actor, like, I do role play. I do this stuff, and it is fun. But to find a group of people who are not only down for it, but, like, push it even further. Like, oh yeah, you want to dress up, but like be Oscars ready, or like, you know what I mean? Get a whole costume. It's just so dope. It really is so much fun.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty high level party.
Oh yeah, it's exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe Donnie and I will eventually get an invite. Maybe
Yeah.
next year. when-
I already got my costume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This year.
when your movie comes out.
Yeah.
when your
That's
movie
great.
comes out.
That's great.
And did this all develop through you knowing about the party, Cory, through your relationship and working with him and working with
I
Travis?
got the invite. I got a text, and I was like, what is this? You know what I mean? It was crazy. Yeah. So because I was so blessed to work with Travis and Pan Am in the past, it kind of just opened us up to, like, you know, outside of the professional, like, relationship, you know, kind of see, I
For example,
assume,
we went to Cannes together because of a short film we did.
Right.
And
right.
it wasn't in competition, but we got to go together, and that really helped us get to know Cory as the awesome person he is.
Well,
So
thank
how
you.
long
I
have you been
appreciate it.
doing the party?
It's only been a couple of years, so yeah.
And so what are some of the characters that have come to your
Well,
party?
last year, basically every guy except Cory was Ken from
Yeah.
from
That's like low hanging fruit.
yeah, it's super easy. That was very fun.
Yeah.
And then then it's just think about it.
There was Barbie for
Barbie
sure.
for sure.
Do you know any plans for this year? Have you heard of rumblings of what people might dress up as, or is it a surprise that day?
Got mine. I actually brought mine, and it's in a backpack, but we'll see.
Okay.
Maybe we can get him to put it on.
We
the
might
cameras.
get you to put it on.
Yeah.
I mean, Dune t-shirt. I'm
Yeah.
thinking maybe it might be related to that.
It
If I had
is.
to guess. Okay. Just,
This Oscar party is probably the name will change to just Celebration of Dune Part 2. And other Best Picture nominees are invited, but
If they want to come.
I was a super fan of that movie, so.
Yeah. Well, no, that's I love super fandom because that means people care
Mhm.
about movies still.
Yeah.
Donnie, you have a film background. You wrote about film and you lived in New York. What do the Oscars mean to you now? And have you ever done an Oscar party or been to an Oscar party?
I don't think I've ever done a proper Oscar party, more than just a couple of people come over and we'll
Yeah.
watch it. And now it's sort of just, it's really dialed down.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's the kind of thing where it's one of those last things where I think we all sort of have culturally where you can know that a lot of people that you are going to see the next day watched it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And your friends online, you're all going to talk about it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I remember when the Slap Heard Around the World happened,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Is anybody else watching this? Can
Yeah.
you believe
Yeah,
this?
is this real?
Is this really happening?" And I think I'm not gonna out her, but I think my wife had already fallen asleep at that point. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're not even gonna believe what just happened."
I
Yeah.
was thinking the same thing. I
Yeah.
remember because sometimes I watch the next day or I'll watch clips and it's rare that I'm watching award shows now in real time. And I happened to be watching that in real time. And that was what I was. It was like looking around like there's nobody else watching it. Same thing. I think somebody was asleep. And I'm like, who do I ask right now? Like I'm Googling the whole
yeah,
slap. Like,
is
is
it
this
fake?
real? Has
Yeah.
anybody
Yeah.
posted about
Yeah.
this? Is it fake? And it was a while before you
Yeah.
really knew what
Yeah.
was happening.
Yeah. It's crazy.
That's wild because we were kind of talking about Oscar moments before this. Like, what are the big Oscar moments? And it's like your memory doesn't go back that far, really.
right,
If you think about the great moments that you should be talking about, but that's the first one everybody thinks of.
Of course. And then the old La La Land mix-up for Best Picture.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big one.
They gave it to Moonlight, but La La Land was accepting the award, and then they're like,
and gave their acceptance speech. That was odd.
They couldn't catch him in time. It's so. Would you rather have had the Oscar for 30 seconds or never had it at all?
Yeah, it's a good question. That is a good question, man.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I guess we've talked about this on the show about award shows and how they are. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, but you feel like that would have been worked out.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of consequence at that. But I think the whole company got not fired, but they didn't get asked back. They didn't. Yeah.
Jeez.
Ugh.
Well, hopefully that doesn't happen at your party.
We're all human. Well, luckily it's low stakes. Yeah.
But and Tom has been on talking about it and
Yeah.
having done MTV awards and things like that. It's the unscripted parts, because everything is so hyper scripted. It's down to they try to keep everything under. It always runs over anyway.
Yeah.
But it's like those unscripted parts that are always the things that everyone is going to talk about.
Mhm.
It's like when I'm being I'm going to sound like an old head here, but which I am. And my favorite era of films is like 1970 to 1985 or something like that. But when Marlon Brando sent out Sacheen Littlefeather from the Apache Nation to go and accept his award, I mean, 50 some years, we're still talking about that. And it's such a cool moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because good things, and there can be awareness things that happen during the award shows. You forget about that. And there are moments where people do talk about important things and societal things. I get very uncomfortable when anybody does crowd work because I'm worried about how they're going to react.
Well, especially now after Will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
Well, yeah, true.
Yeah.
It actually could
it was
be
just
very,
a joke.
very negative.
That actually furthered my anxiety
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
Like, do I watch? I don't know why I'm so uncomfortable right now.
Mhm.
What do you think about this year's lineup? And, in comparison to previous years, is this a heavy hitter year? Is it a little less?
Feels like it's a down arrow year a little bit. I think there's some great movies. There's some great nominees.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's not those sort of boom kind of nominees that, it's Timothée Chalamet being up. I think that's what everyone wants to see. He's like ascendant superstar of the present and future. So everyone wants to see him there.
Yeah.
I think Wicked has everybody really excited. And
Yeah.
how can you not be, rooting for Cynthia and Ariana, right?
Yeah.
But I think by and large, as a film, as an institution, which is kind of crumbling anyway with streaming and sort of breaking down the walls of, what it means to be cinema and film, motion picture, the grandeur of it. It just doesn't seem like it's a real super weighty year, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's not the big splashes, I feel like, this year.
Yeah, and it's shifting from being popular. Like if there weren't 10 nominees for Best Picture, no one would have seen the top 5 contenders.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting.
Most people have seen Wicked and Dune, from the general audience and people who watch the Super Bowl or something. But the likely top films are Anora, Conclave, The Brutalist. There's 4 others that most people haven't
Nickel
seen.
Boys.
Yep.
Nickel Boys, you saw that, but very hard to get some of these, and I don't know. To me, Dune is such a well-made movie. Like most of the movies that are in contention are like indie movies, which I think is nice from the point of view of there is artistic spirit and there is usually a lot of authorship in those. And it's not like I want the most expensive movie to win all the time, for sure. But it's very much looking like Dune is not, or Wicked, or, have no chance. Like they're not even talked about in contention. And that disappoints me because I think the craft of filmmaking was at full display: best acting, best directing, ensemble, adaptation. But I think there's a huge bias towards it's just like an anti-establishment mentality for the past few years, and I think a lot of voters are trying to make a statement, voting their conscience or their zeitgeist, the things they want to promote in the world, which I think there's a space for that in our world. But if we're voting for best performance or best film, I want it to actually be the person who acted the best, not the person who symbolizes the thing we are most politically aware of right now or something. And
Interesting.
It's good and bad,
Well, and to remind people, because I think there's so many award shows and different award shows work differently. An academy votes. So what is the academy made up of? So that's why when people thank the academy, it's not fan votes.
I know, right?
It's
thousands of people in the industry. The nominations come from the people in that industry. So actors are nominating actors and makeup artists do makeup artists. And then once the nominees are set, then the entire academy votes for every category. So then you have producers voting for makeup and, people who have no, but theoretically they're enlightened, and they expanded that, as we all know, a couple of years ago to include more foreign people and just more, as in non-American, not whatever. Which, and that's definitely started to skew what used to be a traditional Oscar movie. A Complete Unknown is your typical winner, probably. It's a biopic. It's got heavy hitters, establishment. And so maybe that's helped because we have several foreign films in the Best Picture race.
Yeah. So do you think expanding that academy and paying attention to who is a part of that has helped then?
It's changed it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I personally, the Oscars are awesome from what you said, Donny, because it gets people a moment to talk about movies and film and to cram movies and see things they wouldn't normally see. I've seen like 6 movies I would not have normally seen. And that's all great. And I just hope people are voting for their actual favorites. I don't know. It's hard to say, but
no, I think you're explaining it like a human,
in a big part of winning, as with every award show, is it's a campaign. It's just an advertising campaign. There's tens of thousands of people who are voting, and they're not able to watch to truly give you the best sound mix opinion for every movie. They're going to say, like, what billboards did I see recently? Or what is my favorite podcaster or journalist said about it?
Yeah.
So we skew.
Yeah.
But,
I think it's the human element in that too, of what you're.
It's subjective.
Yeah.
Art's so subjective. What are you going to do?
I mean, I know that Emilia Perez, there's been mixed reviews of that movie. And, I know I'm going to say this, but musicals are not always I love musicals, but musicals and movies, sometimes I have a hard.
They don't always translate.
But what would you say would be your pick for Best Picture?
Well, I think we know what Travis feels. We know what Travis
we know.
Everyone's rolling their eyes at home. That's okay.
I have to admit, I haven't seen all of these, so I don't know that I can make a proper pick. Maybe of the ones I've seen, I can.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
That's why I'm worried about the Oscars.
Can you give us a quick rundown? What?
So let's see. We have Anora, The Brutalist,
Yep.
A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked.
Okay.
And we're asking what do you want to win, or who do you think will win?
Ooh, how about both?
Yeah.
Okay. So who do I want to win? I feel like Dune was a great movie. I feel like, Wicked. I feel like Wicked was a really, really good movie. I don't know how often musicals win, like The Sound of Music or something like that. Like, I don't know how often. I think Nickel Boys is one of those things that I think, to Travis's point, where it blends a lot. Like, it is kind of like an indie movie, but it is so well done and the story is amazing. So it hits a lot of those points, and to the credit of other people, like, it might have the edge because it also fills in that void of, like, well, it's a diverse cast and, all these other things. So for me, I would go, oh man, I can't choose. I don't know a top one.
You don't have to.
Yeah. But I feel like something like Anora or something might win. I mean,
Yeah.
The Substance was really good too.
You think Anora might win?
I feel like the way people
Really?
talked
People do,
about it, yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like it's.
I think that's like one of those slight, I don't want to say dark horse favorites, but it
Yeah.
seems like it's one of those ones where it could be a little bit of a surprise, but the people who said it said this might be the one, won't be surprised,
Right.
because
Wow.
it's just getting that kind of acclaim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's won a lot of other of the, bellwether
yeah.
award
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah.
It's that or The Brutalist is what's
Yeah.
being discussed. It's
So we know you want Dune.
I want to, but yeah,
Travis?
I think Anora will probably take it.
Really? Okay. What about you, Donnie?
If I had my way, and I was picking, Bob Dylan is like
I
my
know.
religion.
Mhm.
I thought it was an incredibly well told story.
Mm-hmm.
James Mangold can be super hit or miss to me,
Mm-hmm.
but he's still a great director. I loved that movie. I loved the performances. I obviously loved the whole story, and I've known that story. I've read probably more books about Bob Dylan than you'd even believe have been written. But to still find something fresh in it, I loved it. So that would be probably my pick
I'm
for
still here.
personally. Complete Unknown.
Yeah, it's a complete unknown.
Um,
Why did I-
But I'm also going to give The Brutalist, I think would be also a choice. And I think that probably stands a good chance of winning for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
And it's a great movie. Long, but it's great.
I actually am glad that you told me that you approve of the Dylan movie, because I always wonder, because there are so many great movies, and like the Scorsese movie, and there's been so many good, you've read every Dylan book. So I always like the Dylan fans to
Yeah, that's important.
like, that's important. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I still haven't seen that. Can you believe it? I've been meaning to see it, but I almost had to ask people that I knew were Dylan fans, like, is this going to ruin things for me? I don't want to see it unless I
that was
get.
great.
Yeah.
I think it's a good movie. Again, when we talk about zeitgeist and, try to kind of put it better, I think a lot of these movies all kind of have that, where, Wicked is so much of the moment, and it hits on so much that's going on right now. And I think it's really well told, and it's beautiful to look at. And I love, in Emilia Perez is, again, it's a little bit of an outlier. I almost feel like they threw that in there just because. I love the fact, another thing I love about Complete Unknown is that I love when a movie can come, and if it's a biopic or a historical thing, it gets people interested in something. And obviously, I have, my kids are 22 and 16, and they've been forced to listen to Bob Dylan all of their waking lives.
Yeah.
So to actually have them be somewhat excited, and, my daughter was excited because she loves Timothée Chalamet. So if, Dune or that movie won, she'd be happy.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that it's bringing a new audience to that. I think that's great when, the culture can still kind of push things in that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That worked on me. I was not don't hate me, but I didn't know much Bob Dylan previous, and have been really diving into it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot, and there's so much there, and there could be
Soundtrack.
20, there could be 20 more Bob Dylan movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that will be the one I watch tonight then, because usually I'm way ahead by now, and now I'm really behind in
Yeah.
watching.
That's
So I've
definitely
got a
not
lot
one
of
to
work,
skip.
of work to do. I loved Conclave.
Me
I don't
too.
know that I had a lot of emotions throughout that whole movie
Yeah.
that I didn't think I was going to have, and
I
it
was
was
expecting it to be kind of slow and
me
and
too.
just a drama, and it was like very much, it moves some
I didn't
pace.
see- I haven't seen
suspenseful.
it.
It's worth watching.
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should
Performances
check it out.
are great.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
again, beautiful looking movie.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, I think The Brutalist might win. Conclave could surprise, but do we want to see what our Instagram voters picked?
I would love
Yeah.
to.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh,
This is
snap.
To
actually
do
a
the
popular
envelope.
vote.
Yeah.
It's a popular
Drum
vote,
roll.
and you were all wrong. Whoops.
The Wicked.
Wicked. Wicked.
That
won.
Instagram would pick Wicked
Well,
is not
I know.
surprising.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like-
yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if that's what the Academy is picking.
Much to
but-
Travis's point about flashy billboards. And
Yeah, yeah.
It's okay.
No, it's
okay.
fine, but
Yeah.
you're right with it. There's always that reminder there,
Mhm.
Yeah.
of what you should pick. So yes, Wicked has won our poll.
Congrats,
for-
Wicked.
Wicked. Do you have a
Congrats,
favorite
Wicked.
Wicked
Just
song?
another bellwether.
Oh yes, I do. I don't know the name of it, though.
You know any words?
Define gravity, maybe?
Yeah, there's a few.
Yes. I had to sing it into my...
Popular.
Yeah, define gravity. Yeah. Okay. I had
Can,
to like
can
sing
anybody
it
hit
from
Donnie? Can you hit the define gravity note?
And go.
No. Never. Maybe when I was 10.
I know. I was gonna say we could take out go into the next segment with you singing that. So yes, Wicked has won our poll, but I'm excited to see who wins. But you guys make sure we follow up on this party. You need to post pictures or wait, do you do that? Do you post on social media or do you take pictures or is it like a secret society? I feel like it might be.
Fight Club.
What happens at the Oscar party stays at the Oscar
We
party.
just watched the show, guys.
Well, speaking of voting and of groups of people that make these decisions, when we come back from the break, we're talking about the 2025 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominations. Don't go away. That's coming up next on Group Chat.
Support for Group Chat is provided by our members and by the National Comedy Center.
Every time that we breathe in now, there's a new beginning. We're soaring away. We're starting today, so dive with me. We're alive.
Thanks for joining us again on Group Chat. I'm your host, Bentley, and I'm joined by Cory McCants, performer and host of Buffalo Toronto Public Media's digital series Compact History and Compact Civics, teaching us a lot of things that we need to know. Donny Kutzbach, co-owner of Town Ballroom and Funtime Presents, and Travis Carlson, award-winning filmmaker from Pan Am Films and the author of the adventure book Mafia, Buffalo versus the Multiverse, and the host of the best Oscars party in Buffalo we've established in the last segment that you're probably not invited to. So now we're getting into talking about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominees, and good for us is Donnie was just at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We're going to talk more about that, but I will tell everyone the nominees just in case you don't know. Outcast, Bad Company, Joy Division and New Order, Joe Cocker, Billy Idol, Mana, Soundgarden, Cyndi Lauper, Fish, Chubby Checker, The White Stripes, The Black Crowes, Oasis, and Mariah Carey. There we have it.
What a spread.
I'm surprised some of them aren't already.
We say that every time,
Yeah,
but like,
that's
how
true.
is Chubby
That's true.
Checker not in the Rock and Roll Hall
that's
of Fame?
crazy.
That one blows my mind because it's, sometimes you're going, oh, maybe when was their first song
Right,
out?
first
Maybe they
song.
weren't eligible. But how
his
he
first song was
created
like
rock and roll?
1958 or 59,
Mhm.
Like he's the reason.
Yeah, yeah.
Why? How did that happen?
and so when they, we talk about this too about the original when they started it. It was a cabal of old white guy boomers, and even though they were probably fans of Chubby Checker was really one of those things that was looked down upon as being the twist was for teenagers and for kids, and it wasn't taken seriously. He wasn't a blues artist. He wasn't even Motown. He was sort of just like an outlier of pop. So I don't think he was taken as seriously in the early days when he would have been like first ballot in the early years. So now that I think they're kind of going back and doing some corrections. Bad
Yeah.
Company falls in that too, where Bad Company was as big as rock bands get. Like they weren't Led Zeppelin, and we don't look at them that way, but they still were like, they were selling out stadiums in
Very
the 70s.
relevant. Yeah.
And they had so many big hits, and like we all know, you might not think of them right away, but there's so many like Bad Company hits. And
Yeah.
as like that kind of 70s rock goes, they were about as big as anyone. So you can sort of see them going back and making corrections. But then they're also now the bands that are classic rock bands are the bands that we grew up in the 90s. And it's like, oh no.
I know. It's like I almost, when I see bands that I like come up that I actually listen to, I'm like, oh, good. Oh, man.
It's 25 years
It's like when you can
backwards.
remember buying their first album, you're
Yeah.
like, oh no.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the White Stripes. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, they're
Yeah.
eligible. Oh my gosh. Even though I'm a huge fan, as you know, Donnie, I'm a big Jack White fan. I'm like, they're eligible now.
Jeez, yeah.
But so Oasis, what do you? I mean, are they going to stay together long enough? Do they count now?
I mean, they can get in, I guess. They'll get in because they're. That's one of the weird ones too, because it's a very North American centric organization.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And as much as they kind of have tried to change it, but like Oasis are massive everywhere else in the world, and they never quite cracked big. Although this summer we're going to see when they play like the 3 or 4 stadiums that they're playing in North America, and they're all sold out. I mean, it's going to sort of reinvigorate them. And I think the internet and Gen Z has like found Oasis now, and it's kind of become a thing, and everyone knows, Wonderwall, no matter what age you are. Yeah. So I think that they stand a pretty good chance of getting in, and they do kind of embody all the things that you look at rock and roll for.
Yeah, the fighting and the
the drugs and
kind of what Travis was talking about when we were talking about the Oscars is, there's a big reminder out there, and marketing reminder that they're out on tour. Maybe that was a thing. We're like, oh, whoa, wait, maybe we should talk about Oasis for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I was thinking that too. Mariah Carey just sang on SNL for their 50th, and it was very rock heavy, and I was like, whoa. Yeah. And I was like, wait a second, is that her let me make sure you remember I'm right in front of you doing a hardcore rocky thing? Like, anyway.
Is this the time where people argue about what is rock and roll?
Sure, and we've talked about it on this show before.
We've talked about
everyone has an idea, and it's definitely become more of like a popular music hall of fame than a rock music hall of fame. And I think they had to, because it's like, if you're going to build a building and have this establishment that is there to serve white guys from the 60s and 70s and deify that kind of thing, well, you're going to be gone. You're going to be gone in 10 years. Yeah. So you sort of have to be more, and they should be more. And they've done a pretty good job of it. Yeah. Even though we don't always agree, and that's kind of the fun, is that we don't agree on a lot of it.
Yeah. Yeah, those are the most fun conversations. Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised Mariah wasn't in. I mean, because if you talk about people that made such a big impact when they were first out, like she was it, But
but she's also a popularity thing where everyone knows her. She's iconic. See, I would be okay if she never got in. There's so many artists I'd rather see get in who were like R&B pop singers. Like I was glad to see Mary J. Blige get in last year, because Mary J., she's
iconic.
She made hip hop palatable to R&B audience, and it's sort of like it changed everything. I think Mariah Carey was when she broke, and I'm not trying to take anything away from her, but she was married to the head of Sony.
Yeah, they were,
and everything was kind of like,
that's how I know who the head of Sony was.
Great voice and so talented, but also kind of just like giving it. But her legacy stands as its own. So I'm not. She's not my pick, but I get why she's there.
So how did they lump in Joy Division and New Order together?
Okay, I was hoping that this was going to come up, because this is my number one. This is my, I think that Joy Division, New Order, and I'm okay with them being one, because I think that they're so intrinsically tied together. Yeah. And instead of like one year putting Joy Division in and putting New Order in another year, they're putting them all together at once. And that's kind of as it should be, because it's essentially the exact same band, minus, of course, Ian. Yeah. That is, to me, as influence goes, and especially an artist, a group from the late 70s, early 80s. I mean, there's nobody who touches their influence.
No, yeah.
Is this two different bands with like the same members?
It's all the same members. They added one member. They added a keyboardist when it became New Order, and the singer committed suicide, so it was like a tragic end on the eve of their U.S. tour.
Oh wow!
And so the band kind of picked up the pieces, and Joy Division became New Order, and
I feel like I might know this group. What are
Blue Monday? Blue Monday.
Does it feel?
Yeah, you know the beat.
Okay,
I can sing that one. I can sing Wicked.
Maybe not Wicked. Is New Order True Religion? Is that a New Order? Is that
True Faith?
True Faith.
Yes.
True Faith.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
I used to think that the day would
yeah, that's it.
See, you got to talk to the
Okay,
movie
okay.
people. That's where. That's
Yes.
But yeah, because it's Bright Lights, Big City.
Yeah.
Again, that's
Okay.
an 80s movie.
True faith. Yeah.
But it's, I just think that's one of those ones that if they don't get in. So when I was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which I was there last week, and I think it was like the 5th or 6th time I've been there, and it changes.
Mhm.
It's cool. It's great that they like constantly filter in and out different exhibits and pieces in their collection. But I was looking, they had the thing listed of all the nominees, and Joy Division and New Order among the fan nominations were like at the bottom. And I was like, but I know that like the industry people are all going to be like, no, they have to go in.
Well, I think with that, both bands, I do think that it's hard for people to, for some reason, connect that name to the songs, because you look at, so Peter Hook, who was in both bands, is coming to Buffalo in May. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to tell people this person is coming here for a concert, and they were in this band.
And he's playing all New Order.
Yeah. And the songs. Like Cory knew the songs. But I think for some reason, New Order and Joy Division don't translate. The band names don't translate, but people know the songs.
Yeah.
Right. So I think if people knew or realized outside of obviously their main fan base, they would think, oh yeah. That's...
And now at 50 years old, if you would have told me that everyone recognizes that, like, the Grateful Dead logo is what it is, the Rolling Stones logo is what it is, and now the Joy Division Unknown Pleasures logo has become
the wave.
Yeah, when you see it, that's like it's a
black
thing.
Shirt with the white wave,
and that's become a thing, and it's been copied a million times. I have an Air Jordan hoodie with the Jordan logo as that, and you see the Mickey Mouse version of it. It's been copied, but that's become like iconic.
Wow.
But like as post punk, I'll stop talking about Joy Division, New Order, but like post punk, Joy Division changed everything, and then New Order came along, took the ball, ran with it, changed dance music, alternative, pushed all of it into pop, acid house, factory records, the Hacienda in Manchester. There's so much there, and I'm glad to see them get their due. Yeah. Again, it's an American construct, but that as a band goes, I mean, they are that one deserves it.
Yeah. I'm reading Peter Hook's book right now, but as other people in this room and our producers know, I probably won't finish it. So
beach reads.
But as you were talking about influence, and you say like, oh, these songs and these bands influence so much today, you can have those conversations in movies, right? And as we were talking about the Oscars.
Of course.
So is it important to acknowledge these, sometimes even if you have a list and you don't know the people, like Bad Company, is it, people now might not realize how important they are. Do these types of awards, are they important for that reason, to remind people of where things came from now?
I would say for sure, because a lot of people will do look backs and watch, it's a massive, accolade, and just these bands being nominated gives me a different perspective of like who they might be and why I should look them up and why they might feel like they're relevant. You're talking a little bit about like makeup votes too, and like when you're trying to, the Oscars has had a big problem with that, where one of my beefs is that because they're not always picking the best film at the best year, because for some other reason, there's something on the scale that made them pick nominate someone different. So then they try to do these makeups to be like, well, Leo needs to get his first Oscar.
Yeah.
So we just got to,
for this thing.
So then you took it from the person who deserved it. So then you got to do a makeup and then a makeup. Like Christopher Nolan needed to get an Oscar for best directing last year. Was Oppenheimer his best directing? Definitely no. Yeah. But he had to get it, and now I just worry that we're going to be stuck in this cycle of like, well, this is more of a lifetime achievement award. Yeah. We're giving it to their 8th best film.
Yeah. And The Departed and Scorsese. I always say that it's not even in my top 10 Scorsese movies. Yeah. And that got the Oscar. That was that was the one that got him though.
Yeah. So there's no makeups with the Oscars then.
Well, because it's that year. Yeah. So you're only voting for the year.
Yeah.
So they don't get anything.
Yeah.
And then we talked about how the Oscars, how you win an Oscar, it's an Academy. So with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, How does that work? Because I mean, Jan Wenner was in charge of that
Yeah,
for
and
a
then
while.
they ousted him
And,
because
yeah.
he's
Not an upstanding
he's
citizen.
not a great person in a
Oh,
lot of
dang.
ways. He's done interesting things, but
Yeah.
there's a good book, and we've talked about this on before when we talked about the Hall, but I mean, there's a book he hired a writer to do his biography, his authorized biography, and then he didn't like the results because it did not paint him in a good picture. So then he wrote his own autobiography, got somebody to sort of tell the pretty tale of it, and then this guy put out the book anyway, unauthorized, and that was the one I read.
I still read that. So he's the editor of Rolling Stone, which
and that's where it kind of started.
Of interest
And he's always taken care of for years and years. He took care of all of his. Oh well, Bruce Springsteen's in. I have to make sure that the E Street Band get in too, and so he's always taking care of all of his like friends and colleagues and the people he liked.
So one person picked the Hall of Fame?
No, but they had there was always like a steering committee, and the people who were in charge, which again was like old white boomers, they were kind of like, yeah, this is who we're going to bring in this year. And it's changed a lot. And again, it's like when I look at the list, there's so many outcasts. I feel like first ballot, they deserve to be in.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Was this their first year that they were eligible, right?
I think this is the first year of eligibility for them. I think.
Yeah.
But then like Cyndi
It's
Lauper
pretty
totally
close.
deserves to be
Oh,
in.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cyndi Lauper would have been the biggest star, if we're talking like female stars. She would have been the biggest female star of the 80s if it hadn't been for Madonna and Janet Jackson maybe.
Yeah, she had a lot of competition around
She
that time.
did, and Madonna kind of outshined her just because she's Madonna, but
Yeah.
like that's not fair because Cyndi Lauper did some amazing things.
Yeah. So there is a committee. Is it music people?
So there is industry folks, and they've changed that too. So now they open that up, and they brought in a much more diverse group of people who vote. So I think that helps the fact that you're not just seeing the obvious.
Right. The same.
What does
rock
the
and
fan
roll.
vote have to do with it?
The fan vote they do to keep people engaged. And I think at least one artist will get in just based on the fan vote. If it's not one that's picked, I think that if they don't make the cut of who the industry and in the members of the Hall of Fame pick, then they'll have one go in every year from the fan vote.
Okay.
But they also make sure that there's not going to be something totally outlandish.
Yeah.
They still give it, so that Weird Al, not picking on Weird Al, but like if like Weird Al's fans who are hardcore,
diehard fan,
if they all decide to go online and vote Weird Al, and he'll probably get in someday. But I'm just you can't just be like a write-in vote. It's got to be who they already have picked.
Yeah.
right.
So it's not just for optics, because I thought maybe it was one of those things where like, oh, vote for your best or who you think should get in, and then they're like, oh, yeah.
Right, just for engagement or something like that. No,
How about being at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? How does that? Do you feel that it's an immersive experience? Is it what it should be?
It's gotten better, I think. So I've been there a bunch of times over the years, and going back on a blustery Sunday in February. It was nice. It doesn't feel like a church. Like I don't think you don't want it to have that kind of reverent quality, although, it's cool to see the piano that John Lennon and Paul McCartney wrote, dozens of songs on, or, to see Chuck Berry's amp. Like those things are cool. They've made it a lot more hands-on now. Like there's a whole floor where you can get up and you can play a guitar, you can pick up a guitar, you can sit down at a piano. And sort of do a lesson, and if you know how to play, you can sort of do it, or you can sort of just figure it out and it'll show you how to do it. But it actually, like,
great.
I love the fact that it is making people kind of be hands-on.
Become a part of it. Man.
And but then there's also things like the top floor they always will have for like a newer nominee, and they'll sort of do a whole thing. And we've talked about it on the show. I detest Bon Jovi, and they had this year.
I know that one. That one.
Corey, this is like I'm playing the greatest hits today, but everyone knows how much I hate Bon Jovi. And Bon Jovi was in the top hall where they have all this Bon Jovi memorabilia, and like they're showing all these videos on the wall, and I was like, okay, I walked through here. I can at least say I get it. And I left as quick as I could.
Yeah, I do like the rotating exhibits.
Yeah.
I've only been there a couple of times, but I feel like those are always interesting. Have either of you ever been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I think I went like maybe in like 2018 or something like that. Me and my girlfriend went. Yeah.
It's something you have to do, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
experience.
It's definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Cleveland's just down the road.
Yeah,
Right,
and
it's
it's,
not
it's,
that
a,
far,
it's a
right.
quick trip. What would be your equivalent as a movie person that you would visit to see like movie memorabilia?
Well, I mean, I was in LA not that long ago for when we all went. And there was do you know what museum that is? There's like I don't think it's an Oscars museum, but
Yeah.
there's a film something
Is it
museum.
something to do with Paramount? No, maybe
Not Paramount.
Well,
but
Paramount
it's-
has a studio.
Yeah,
Right.
they have a
tour.
studio and they have.
But they're
yeah.
like this one is similar in like all the floors, different things you can do. You can like get like do your like fake acceptance speech, so you can like hold a real Oscar. It
Yeah.
will record you and like send the video to your phone. So like it's in that way it's similar
Yeah.
and all of the history that you have of like film and everything. So that's I just love museums though.
Yeah.
So because I love all
Same.
types of museums, like it just feels so great to be there and to learn this stuff. And to like see the actual glove of Michael Jackson, to see the like
Yeah.
those kind of things are just so
Mhm.
cool.
Makes it
Yeah.
real.
And so to see like all the Oscars from the different years, to even see how it looks a little bit different and all that, like all that stuff, I eat it up.
Yeah.
I think that is the Oscars museum.
Okay, maybe,
because
yeah,
that's
yeah.
a pretty new thing.
Okay.
I remember them advertising it. So
Academy Museum of Motion Pictures.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Which
yeah,
would
yeah.
be the Oscars,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So there is an Oscars museum. Look at that. I learned something new today.
What I like to see as a trend too is, and so I was in Tulsa last month also, and there is the Outsider's House. So and the story is crazy, but Danny Boy from House of Pain every time he'd be in a city, he would go to a place where a movie was filmed. He ended up buying the house, turning it into a museum. And it was one of the best. I did a lot of really cool stuff in Tulsa, surprisingly, but it was so neat. And I love the idea that like turning places where movies were filmed. I think they're doing it with the Goonies house in Oregon. So I love that idea. It's like
That's
those things
dope.
are
Me too.
becoming
Yeah.
something that you can actually go and experience.
That's really
I
dope.
think Hobbiton is in New Zealand. Like you can go to the Shire.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've never- that'd be
that makes
I've
sense.
been
That
there.
makes sense. Yeah.
I've been there.
You have you?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Wow.
Look at you.
Nerd.
Wow.
It was pretty. Everything looks just like you would think it
Oh,
looks. Yeah.
man,
And the
that's great.
hills and everything. And, the mountains we couldn't hike because there was so much
There were
gray.
dragons and
Yeah, it was
rains,
dragons.
right?
So
Watch
it
out
was
for
fog
those dragons.
and rain. It was too foggy. So it's exactly what you think. I'm like, oh, it's because of the dragons. That's why we can't go up there. But Cleveland, if you think about Cleveland, also like every year I go to the Christmas Story house.
Yes, that's
Like-
another
That's
one.
there.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it a
It's
museum or is it
it's
just?
the actual house where they filmed the movie, and the cool thing about it is the people that took it over actually donate portion. I think this is still happening. I think there's new owners, but they donate a portion of the ticket sales to that community because it is sort of like an impoverished area
Yeah.
of Cleveland. So
Mm.
if someone needs their roof fixed or something, yeah, it's
Wow.
great. And the museum's great and the gift shop's really great. too.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, it's all about the Outsiders. I end up going the outside. I'm like, okay, I need that T-shirt. I need-
Yeah, oh, yeah.
It's the gift shop is sometimes the best
Oh,
part.
the gift shop's the best part. That's probably
Mhm.
where they make all their money.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
People
Yeah.
like me.
Mhm.
When we come back, we're going to take a break. We're talking about music, and we have Donny here and people that enjoy culture. So we're going to talk about the tours that we can expect or the things we're looking forward to this summer and spring, because that is just right around the corner, even though we don't feel like it. So when we come back, that's up next on Group Chat on WBFO.
Support for Group Chat is provided by our members and by the National Comedy Center.
Every time that we breathe in now, there's a new beginning. We're soaring away, we're starting today, so dive with me. We're alive, alive, alive. We're alive.
Thanks for joining us again on Group Chat. I'm your host, Bentley, and I am joined by Cory McCants, performer and host of Buffalo Toronto Public Media's digital series Compact History and Compact Civics, Donny Kutzbach, co-owner of Town Ballroom and Funtime Presents, and Travis Carlson, award-winning filmmaker from Pan Am Films and the author of the adventure book Mafia Buffalo versus the Multiverse. So we've talked Oscars, we've talked about Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Let's talk about concert season since we have you here, Donny. So when I say that you also work for Funtime Presents or co-own Funtime Presents, that means you do a bunch of concerts in the area.
Yeah.
So obviously you own Town Ballroom, but also do other concerts. So what do we have to look forward to this summer that you can talk about?
I mean,
Can you tell us things that we don't know yet? No,
I
I'm just
can't.
kidding.
I know I'll get in trouble if I do
I
that.
know. I always know that, but
I can say this, and just from without don't want to get into self promotion and that side of things, but I mean, I think it's going to be a good summer. Everyone's going to see something they want to see. Even like looking at Darien Lake's schedule, there's a lot of stuff there that they're kind of. They cater to a pretty broad audience, and I think with Outer Harbor we're doing that, and so there's going to be things that everybody wants to see. Hopefully, the lineup for Borderland came out today. That's really good.
So the Borderland lineup, I was just like, wow, because it's always good.
Yeah,
but I was just like, how the heck? It's great. I'm a big Vampire Weekend fan though, so I think. Khruangbin was at Rockin' at the AKG last year.
All 4 of those headliners are all acts that
that
we've
have
done,
been here.
that we've done every time the last time they played.
Yeah. So that's going to be great, and it's a great location in East Aurora. So I know, and I feel like there's just so many festivals, but it's nice to have one in our backyard because I'm kind of like festivaled out. It's like every lineup keeps trying to. There's a festival in every state. And how many of these bands are you actually going to be able to see?
Right.
And it used to be like the big ones were South by Southwest and Bonnaroo and now it's every state has a festival.
Everyone's got
every
region seems like they have one.
Yeah.
And it's also nice to be able to just go home and go sleep in your own bed at the end after you've been standing in a field all day.
That's
not
the
go
age
to a
we are at.
Not go to a campsite.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at now in my life. But listen, the thing I'm most excited about, not going to lie, and I know, Donnie, that you are excited about this, and other people maybe too, Wu-Tang Clan is reuniting for their farewell tour.
Wow.
Reunited, double LP, well decided.
Tickets on sale today. Run the Jewels opening. Obviously, we're a big fan of Killer Mike here because and we ran his show, and so that is pretty amazing. I can't believe they got everybody. How many members are in Wu-Tang Clan?
I mean, it depends on how you count affiliate members and RIP, ODB.
Right.
And you've also booked Wu-Tang Clan in the early years.
Well, kind of in the middle years.
Yeah.
They played Town Ballroom twice.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they played Town Ballroom twice.
What?
Yeah.
When?
I got.
You might have been
Before
a
your
child.
birth.
Yeah, I'm sure I was probably young.
It was only about 10 years ago, 10
Okay.
or 12 years ago. It was the early 2010s. Yeah.
Wow. I did not know that,
They
man.
played twice. And neither time, that's the thing is when you go see this tour, pretty much everybody will be there. There were certain times where not every member was there. And the second time I was shocked out of my mind. I can't remember who wasn't there. But the RZA was there, and I was like, I can't believe this is the dude who is like scoring Tarantino movies,
right,
and collaborating with Jim Jarmusch, and he's actually here playing to 1,000 people in Buffalo. And it's like, what? But yeah. So I actually in going back to film when I started, my first job in film was I was a Wu-Tang wrangler on the movie Black and White, which my whole job was basically like making sure that members of Wu-Tang Clan who were in the movie and their affiliates got to the set on time and got their turkey burgers and things like that. Bringing Mike Tyson to meet Raekwon, like stuff like that.
Just easy stuff.
Yeah, bizarre. I sometimes shake my head that that was a job that I got when I was like 22, but that's what I did.
Are these things like sparking memories of you guys getting started in film and having to wrangle people? Or...
I mean, I was never on that side. I was never on that side of things. So for me, I think the craziest stuff was like background extra work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like background work, because that is just a beast in itself. So I never had to like wrangle anybody, but I was like one of 2,000 people. Like,
it had to be wrangled.
Yeah, exactly. I always tried to. I think there was one time in New York, I was doing something for VH1, and I was like a concert goer, and they're like, so this part you guys just dance, and I was like, well, if you want me to dance, I'm gonna dance. There's a few times they're like, all right, my man in the blue shirt, it's good. Just tone it down a little bit. So that's
Take a lot. And go farther away.
Because I was out there sweating, but like
Yeah.
I mean, those are my kind of, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah.
the early days. That's what it reminds me of. Like just
Yeah.
being silly, trying to stand out and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Are there any concerts you guys are looking forward to, or bands you want to see, or artists you want to see? Is it all related to film?
I'm so weird. I listen to soundtracks like all the time.
Yeah, well, that's
but
why when you mentioned one of the Wu-Tang members that
RZA.
scored RZA
Yeah.
scoring a soundtrack, I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
didn't realize that.
I mean, Hans Zimmer is on tour, and he's
Yeah.
my guy.
What?
He's on, and
I wonder if there's
Yeah.
a Toronto date. That's
There is
that's
a
a
Toronto
great
date.
thing
Is there
about
Cleveland? There might be a Cleveland.
there's a
date.
Columbus date.
Yeah.
Oh,
Columbus, okay.
really?
So
am I writing
get
that
this,
down?
You probably this is not news to you, but I was like, wow, the Toronto tickets are like, 4 times more than
Yeah.
the Columbus tickets, and they're about the same drive. So if
I mean,
if
yeah.
anyone's listening, go to Columbus.
Yeah, Columbus is a cool.
You could
area for
almost be,
concerts.
depending on what the QEW traffic is like,
No,
you can
it's
almost
true.
be in Columbus as
Yeah.
as quickly as you could be in downtown Toronto some days.
Well, that's why
Not
I'm
like it,
wondering what city I get Wu-Tang tickets for, because I was like, oh, Toronto, but
Yeah.
who knows
That's
what
gonna
the
be
drive's
tough,
gonna be.
yeah.
I was
But
like,
Yeah.
the day
Toronto,
before.
if I go to one show in Toronto this summer, you know what it is, right?
What's that?
Kendrick Lamar.
Kendrick and
Already-
SZA.
Listen, I already
We're
have my
back
tickets.
on it.
I'm
We're
not
back
even.
on.
We're back
We're back on
it.
Kendrick talk. Group chat
Yes.
becomes
We know
Kendrick
it.
chat.
Every time I'm
Oh,
on here
full
with
circle.
Donnie, I mean, in this situation, no, J. Cole is not, so
Yeah.
we understand. Like I'm with you all the way. I'm with you all the way.
Did you guys react to the Super Bowl yet? The halftime show?
I mean, you guys didn't get
Yeah,
to.
yeah. I don't think I wasn't on an episode where we talked about it, but I definitely had a reaction or two of that, and it was. I mean, I feel like he was in the zone, man. To hear that there were people like, I didn't get it. It was the worst one ever. I was not in that boat at all. I was like, this thing is top tier for me. I loved it. So I would be down to see Kendrick too.
I think after that performance, like anyone who might have been thinking about it would be like, oh, I gotta go
Yeah.
see. I
Oh,
gotta
yeah,
go see.
the
I gotta
way
see
the
Kendrick.
streams went up and everything
Yeah.
after that performance, and even
Yeah.
like, we talked about the breakdowns visually of that performance and
Yeah.
what everything meant. And I actually I was texting Donnie
Yeah.
during it. I'm like,
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
I was freaking out. I'm like, he probably doesn't even have his phone by him, but I need
No,
to
I
talk.
did. I was
I
sitting
need to
there
talk to
watching.
somebody
Yeah.
about this right now.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, it always comes back to Kendrick somehow. And I'm not even gonna talk about how expensive those tickets are.
Oh
but
man.
listen. So, yeah, we've got Gary Clark Jr. coming to Art Park again. I'm excited about that. Rocket at the AKG is happening again this year.
It's in the works.
It's in the
It's in the
works.
works. If it happens, it could be great.
Yeah.
Let's just say it's going to happen, but there's some stuff
That
that
could
is
be
in the works. Let's say
really
that.
awesome that Donnie can't say
Hmm.
anything about. The Outlaw Music Festival, Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan, Red Clay Strays, which that's a big one for us on the bridge. They were kind of one of those
Yeah.
smaller bands that, kind of blew up.
Mm.
During South by Southwest last year, I saw them play at the party they do at Willie Nelson's ranch that Willie plays, and it was when Kermit the Frog came out and
Yeah.
sang Rainbow Connection with Willie Nelson. But I saw Red Clay Strays before all that, and they're great.
Yeah.
They're really great.
For our Canadian friends, Bare Naked Ladies coming
That's
to
a
Outer
big one.
Harbor.
That's
It's going to be a big one.
that's going to be a great one.
Yeah, with
Mhm.
Fastball, which is a very underrated band. Everybody's telling me
Yeah,
that they're really good live.
yeah.
So-
Austin band too.
Yeah. Oh, look at you.
Yeah, and
with
Sugar
the-
Ray. For all you Mark McGrath fans out there.
Ray.
Let's talk. Yeah, I didn't even know he was. Wait, wasn't he on an MTV show for a while?
He's on. I think he's Entertainment Tonight or one of those shows.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
He's
You,
yeah.
you know that one?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that one, of course.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was on Yeah, I don't know. I just remember. I'm getting sidetracked by thinking about his hair. 9 Inch Nails tour.
That's I'm excited about
Nice.
that one. I just
Yeah.
gotta try
Speaking
to
of
go see that.
soundtracks,
They're coming here?
No,
playing
Toronto.
Toronto.
Yeah.
Toronto.
Nice.
I know. I was hoping Buffalo, but are you a Trent Reznor fan because of?
Of course.
Soundtracks,
Trent and
yeah.
Atticus Ross, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
I mean, how are you not? I went up a next level with them as a fan.
Trent and Hans Zimmer changed soundtracks. Like, just to say it, it used to be an orchestra playing themes and melodies and, like Lord of the Rings and
Mhm.
Star Wars. And those two made it just noise and emotion
And
Yeah.
Hans came from a rock
Texture.
background
Exactly,
too, so
exactly.
that's
I didn't know that. I
Yeah.
didn't know
Yeah.
that.
yeah.
And
Oh.
you won't hear an old school score, like if you go to the movies or stream, whatever you guys want to do. But it doesn't happen. The movie Twisters just did a callback to the old, because there's a sequel to a movie that had a very, we're on an adventure to see tornadoes kind of soundtrack. And they kind of nodded to it, but it's changed everything. It's interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah, that really was. If you think about it, some of the like There Will Be Blood and like those kind of soundtracks with from Radiohead, Johnny Greenwood, and then you had The Social Network with
a lot of David Fincher's.
Yeah. It really did change things. That's interesting. So shows in the summer. I know we talked about a little bit about this before we got on the mic, but it's not really a summer concert season anymore. You have concerts in May. And now you have concerts all the way to October.
Yeah.
So do you guys all get busier in the summer because of all of the things going on? Do you get to more concerts in the summer because there's more to choose from, even though now the season's just expanding?
Yeah, because artists need to be on the road. That's where that's where they're making their living.
Yeah.
So, when artists used to just tour from June to Labor Day, now they're taking this huge machinery out, and that's really where they're getting paid. That's where everybody's getting paid in that part of the industry. So they're now expanding it. So, you're seeing stuff as early as April, and even in the Northeast going into October, which is crazy. We would have never thought in the past that would go on like that.
Yeah. What makes everybody buy a concert ticket? Like what? Because it really is it's a commitment now, like to plan, because now tickets go on sale for a show like now in September. So it's like, how do you know you're going to be available? Do you buy the ticket now because you're worried that maybe they're going to sell out? Like it's not just like going and lining up to buy a ticket anymore. It's
very different.
Just showing up.
Announced way ahead of time too.
I feel like COVID changed it a lot for people because everyone was just so happy to be able to go back to shows.
Yeah.
And then we've noticed that people will buy tickets for shows and not even show up, but they just want to know that they can go.
Yep.
And they want to support the artist and all those kind of things. And so sometimes you'll see, what we used to see before COVID. Now the amount of what we call no shows, people who just don't even use their ticket, is exponentially higher than it used to be. So it feels like people do just sometimes buy tickets and figure, okay, I'm gonna go, and then sometimes people forget. That's happened to me. Stuff is so far out now. Yeah. Like we had Megan Maroney, who's a huge, she's blowing up huge. It's not quite Chappell Roan level was last year, but in terms of like country.
Yeah.
We sold it out it went on sale in November, and we sold it out in a day and a half, and the show's in July.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
So
do you guys make plans that far ahead for anything?
Nothing in my life. Absolutely not. I can't. I definitely forget.
Yeah.
I definitely forget.
I mean, we know J. Cole would be the one that if tickets,
but I probably wouldn't buy those tickets. Someone would buy them for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. They would know.
That is just. Well, I don't really go to concerts. Do you go to concerts?
Not much, no.
No?
I do movies, and I do a lot of travel. So I do plan ahead months in advance for a big trip abroad. But
you probably don't get much free time when you're in a city for a movie, right? Do you get to explore it all?
Yeah, well, and I'm not like on set with big movies very much. I did Cabrini when that was in town, but no, we just run a small production house. We're actually filming a commercial right now, Cory and I. It's just happening up the road, so we're going to go back to that.
Can you talk about the commercial? Because I thought you were talking about something completely different, but...
Oh, really?
A bit. I don't know. I don't know how much is officially out there, but it's soup for a local company.
Okay, you said soup, and I thought it was like a show. No, it's soup.
No.
She's like, "What's soup about?" And I'm like, "Well, it's a warm liquid. It has nutrition."
Before you get at it.
A lot of people like it.
Sometimes it has noodles. Sometimes it's chunky.
The way we talk about things in here, we get so deep dive. Like, what does that mean?
True.
Oh, no, it's soup.
Can I get tickets to soup?
They sound great.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
Well, that used to be a thing. Remember when like people would be like make up a fake band
Yeah.
name and like didn't Jimmy Kimmel used to do a skit with that with like going to festivals and be like, did you hear about this band and
Yeah.
make up a band like Soup? And they're like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna see them.
So awesome.
I know
I have
somebody.
all their albums.
I
Somebody
have
who
all
used
their
to
albums.
troll one of the DJs at the Old Pink, not me, but trolled one of the other DJs there who would like bring up a band name, would make up a band name and go, yeah, I don't have any of that. Or like he's like, oh, do you like them? Like, yeah, they're okay. It's just not my thing.
It'd be like a
To look
fake-
like, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Aw, that DJ was very nice. Well, now though you can like look up anything
Yeah.
and
Well, yeah, there's a
download
different-
stuff for
yeah.
people.
Right.
But that's like why it sucks to be a DJ sometimes because you can't say I don't have that and they're like, yeah, you can just download.
You just
Right.
got to
Get
go
it.
back to being the elitist jerk and be like, I'm not playing that.
There you go.
Not playing your Soup. Well, I look forward to
That's true.
No soup for you.
I am
There we
looking
go.
forward to Soup. Which artist do you think put on the best live show? You guys don't really go to concerts. Do you
No.
watch concerts on TV or?
I mean, you can
Yeah.
see concerts like on
Yeah.
YouTube or on,
Yeah.
I mean, you can stream them and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I feel like the best shows are like the DJs. That's what it seems
Yeah.
like the DJs that are, you know what I mean, that's where the party is. So whether it's throwing a cake in somebody's face or, you know what I mean, like whatever, like it seems like that's the biggest draw. And those audiences, it seems like there's always so many people there. It
Yeah.
seems crazy. But I mean, yeah, obviously I feel like J. Cole would do a great show, but
Yeah.
it seems like Drake's concerts seem like, I mean, his fans really, really love him,
Yeah.
but he seems to do a whole lot. So, I mean, obviously I'm only talking about like rap.
Yeah.
That's where my brain goes when I think
No,
of like a
that's-
concert I
yeah.
would go to or something like that. Maybe some Rascal Flatts or something like that. You know what I mean? Throw a little bit of that in there.
Only if they play the Cars soundtrack song.
well,
That's
yeah,
the
I
only
mean,
thing
yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
mean,
do. If I
Mikey's
see-
Highway. That's the cover.
And it's a cover.
I know exactly.
But yeah, I guess I'm not the person to ask. I don't know. I feel like, who does a good concert? I feel like you guys go to a lot of
Like,
concerts.
you-
Who
yeah,
are
you
the
guys know, but
show?
I mean,
Corey, I
it's-
think you're right. I think like DJs right now, I think because of the nature of what they do,
mm-hmm.
and it's dismissively somebody who isn't into that or doesn't give it what it's due. They're like, oh, they just go up and they hit, enter on a laptop,
Right,
and that's the
right.
show. Those shows are the most complex to produce. There's so many things in terms of the lighting, video content. I mean, and some of the best shows I've seen in terms of, I may not necessarily love the music, but you can kind of absorb the music and get into it because the show is so good,
Right.
because the lighting is so incredible. And like, I remember the time we had Skrillex playing at the town ballroom, and he had a giant suit on, and then the suit morphed into like this giant hologram robot that was him on stage. So he's moving and the robot's moving at the same time.
Oh my
And it was the
God.
first time I'd ever seen anything like that. And I was like, wow, this is insane.
Yeah.
yeah.
So like that's, I think a lot of it's experiential going to see a live band. It's like, if you want to go see a show and somebody play and somebody's going to play for like 3 hours, if you're like into the musicianship and you love the songs and that kind of thing, that's a different story. But when you're going to a show, and when we go see a big show, you're going to go see somebody like Wu-Tang Clan, they're going to have a lot of bells and whistles to the show.
Mhm.
In rock bands that do it, I feel like Nine Inch Nails is one of the ones that has an incredible live show,
Oh,
and they have
okay,
a
I'm
lot of
excited
really
for
cool
that.
lights,
Yeah.
especially inside it in an arena. It's going to be wild.
I saw them in LA probably, I don't know, was it 5 years ago? I don't know time. But they gave out cookies
Yeah.
when you went in. And like he's been sober for a long time.
Yeah.
And like you look at like early 90s Trent Reznor, you wouldn't think that he'd ever be giving out cookies at a show, but it was still a pretty badass show. But I was like, why are they giving out cookies? They're like, he likes cookies. I'm like, okay. All
Gotta
right.
find
To
some type of
everybody in the
vice.
audience when you
Yeah.
walked in.
I
So
used to work for the Sabres, and I pitched that to them. Of
Really?
like, it's really, people are cold when they walk in, and
Yeah.
usually it's stressful going through traffic. We should just give everybody, it's like 50 cents to
Yeah.
give somebody a cookie. Like,
Listen,
And
You
Donnie,
get a sponsor
How
to
nice would that
underwrite
be?
it.
Listen,
And, yeah.
next
ROI
show you-
on that would be
I'm
great.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Sabres are listening. Lindy Ruff, if you're listening.
we come up with a lot of great ideas here on group chat, so I
agree.
think, yeah,
I totally
think
agree.
the cookie idea, Donnie can steal it.
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned a suit. You mentioned Skrillex wearing a big suit on stage. So, Travis, are we going to get to see the Oscar suit? This is what you're going to wear at your party?
I can throw it on. Is that
Okay.
for all of our radio listeners to see?
Well, maybe you'll get it on the video version.
Right. Yeah.
Might be a little complex.
Okay. All right.
I just
We'll
realized it's
tease
like
that
a
for the
jumpsuit.
video
Yeah.
version. Yeah, you might be running out of time
Yeah.
for that one, but I'll let you decide if you want to do
We'll
that.
send a picture at some
Yeah.
point.
That wraps up today's episode of Group Chat for now. If you want to continue the conversation, make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter at WBFO News. Also check us out on the video podcast on Buffalo Toronto Public Media's YouTube channel. If you love public media as much as we do, here's something important you can do right now to help protect it. Visit protectmypublicmedia.org to learn more and take action. Signing up is quick and easy, and it helps ensure that we can keep bringing you the shows you love. Public media belongs to all of us. Let's keep it thriving. I'd like to thank my guests Cory McCants, Donny Kutzbach, and Travis Carlson. Thanks for listening.
Support for Group Chat is provided by our members and by the National Comedy Center.